as we talk about this next part, before we get started, I want you to take a second and conceptualize in your own mind what you expect to happen when we drive a fuller into a piece of stock. What are we expecting the stock to do? How can we prevent it? How can we prevent the distortion? How can we improve what we get, okay? So now that we're starting that conceptualization, let's take a piece of stock and let's just knock the fuller in and see what happens. Okay, I'm gonna put my fuller just outside of center, and I'm gonna aim for center on that other side. As we drove that in, it took this outside edge and shoved it out and thinned it. So whenever we hem it, what we're gonna shoot to do is we're gonna thicken that outside edge, and with our hammer doing more work than the anvil, that's what we're gonna use to accomplish this. Because of the surface tension of whatever our piece is on, when I hit, if I'm off at all, that causes it to stretch more, where whatever's against the anvil sticks and doesn't wanna spread, okay? So whenever I hem, because my hammer doesn't have that same surface tension, that side's gonna get thicker, the other side's gonna maintain, and that's what we've seen just happen here. That surface tension is what maintained that thickness or the width on the bottom. So when I hem, what I'm shooting to do is I'm gonna forge it up to a trapezoidal shape, so it's thinner on the top than the bottom. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to make sure my outside edge is thicker, because you can see how this outside edge came down and out. So we're gonna come in and we're always seating that shoe out. Whenever I come into hem, because of our anvil having that surface tension, we can see I'm turning my hammer and I'm hitting at a slight bit of angle, but I'm also turning my stock. And you can see how we forged that up to a trapezoidal shape, but you can also see how much thicker it is on that outside edge. Okay, let's go ahead and put a mark on that. As you're learning to fuller, it's important that you stay systematic. And what I mean by that is you want to make sure that you either hem and then mark your fuller in, or you need to fuller, or you need to mark and then hem. But always do it the same. So before, when we did that, you can see how our distance from inside edge to our fuller outside edge is very similar to each other, right? But if we look, now that we've hemmed it up, you can see how the distance from the outside edge of my fuller into my outside edge is quite a bit narrower than the inside edge to the inside edge of the shoe. That's really close to our center line, or just outside of. But because of our taper and the thinness here, that's going to change our position. We're putting our fuller just outside the center of the foot surface of the shoe, not just outside of our top line. So that's why it's so important that you either hem and then mark, or mark and then hem. As you're learning to fuller, what you're going to find is go ahead and train your eye. If you need to use dividers, or if you want to use a wrench, that's a really good way of going to start training your eye. But then start fullering, and consistencies are the easiest thing to fix. So if I build 3 shoes and I'm coarse, well, now I know what that tolerance and where I need to put that for the next time. So I'll go just a little bit outside of what I think my eye is, and that's how you train yourself. Whenever I hit a striking tool, if I'm trying to make a hole, I'm always aiming for where I want it to come out. So as I hit this, I'm aiming for my foot surface. So now that we've done that, we can see how we've maintained our original stock. So now, when I come in and gather that up, and I flatten that, we've maintained original thickness, but we've got nice crisp lines, and we're still thinner on that inside edge. A true test to a 3/4 fuller is that when you're done, the inside edge is actually thinner than the outside edge. This is built to a pattern. You can see how I have sole pressure relief all the way through that shoe. When I flip it over, my ruler is still touching the outside edge. That means that I'm actually thicker on my outside edge than my inside edge. Once my heel check's on, I'm going to come one pass down center. I'm going to turn my stock and my hammer, and I'm going to work back to my quarter, right on around the end of my heel check. Chess game, right? So I'm going to get in line with my stock, hammer's just off a flat. I'm going to bring it down to its original thickness. Once I've done that, I'm going to turn my branch. Every time I'm on the horn, I'm thinking about my shape. Again, see, I'm seating that out any chance I get. My shape's not quite there, but now I'm going to start hemming. I'm going to hit beyond, and I'm going to work right up to the start of my fuller end. If you'll look, I'm turning my stock. I'm hemming the inside and the outside edge. Right now, I'm coming, and it's just like when you trim a foot. You want to work two. So I'm hitting that same spot. I'm working up to my quarter. Once I get to my quarter, again, look how I'm turning my stock through my quarter and away from my quarter. But I'm paying as much attention to what I'm doing with the outside edge of my hammer as I am with what I'm doing to my tong hand. So to do that again, I'm coming. I've got my hammer hand to the turn into the, when I say I'm twisting to the left, I'm twisting like so. I'm twisting to the left. I'm straightening up just slightly, working up to that quarter. See how I turn my hammer to the left? I'm working through that quarter. And here, as I sweep, you can see I go from twisting to the left to straightening out. So here, I'm straightening out. So when you look over the top of this, you can see that I have that even shape on the inside and out. I'm going to get in line with my branch. There's 3 steps to fullering: a hit, twist, and rock. So I'm going to hit it, twist, which moves the shoe, and I rock in place of my fuller. And place. So whenever I forge the shoe, remember I said I work to my quarter and away from my quarter. So I have a very intentional shape. So that whole time I was building that, I'm thinking about my shape. You can see how I've created nice parallel lines. If I don't have a good section, how can I create a parallel line? Right? If it's all lumpy and bumpy, what am I going to follow? Okay. If you're struggling with your fuller, you guys will notice a lot of people, when they fuller, they go out, so they start coarse, they get fine, and then come coarse again. Or vice versa, they'll start fine, come coarse. You'll see where they start fine, then they come coarse, cut across the quarter, and come out. 2 reasons for that. One, if you have a straight fuller, it's hard to create an arc, right? Number 2, if I have a circle and I cut across the corner anywhere, on both sides of that line, I have a corner and I have a corner. Fullering, you cannot create a corner. It will not allow you to create a sharp corner. So let's say I was trying to follow this path with my fuller. I cut across and just came a little bit coarse in one spot. Well, when I get to that back edge, the only way for me to follow my branch is to actually do a corner. But instead what happens is I end up coming out and then coming back in. So I come out, get fine, and get coarse again. Or vice versa. Let's say I start here and I come out, so I'm missing it here. I'm going to cut back in, nice smooth arc, and that's going to cause me to cut across that area there. That's exactly what happens with fitting. If you've ever been struggling fitting and you burn on, it's like, I don't fit in my quarter, I don't fit in my quarter, I don't fit in my quarter, and then you go and shape at the toe, that's because of this same concept, right? If I don't have it coming out at the same angle as my foot, whenever I get to my spot, I have to kink it to fit it. So if you ever hear yourself, I have to just knock the tip in, that's probably because you missed it up here. So more than likely, you needed to come out and around that quarter, which allows you to put nice smooth arc in. So let's say, for instance, I was fullering this, and I don't pay attention, and I'm going to start just a bit coarse. So as I come in and I'm just a bit coarse, as I get to where I want to get in line, the only way would be to put this sharp kink in, but I can't do that. So I'm going to be like, oh, I need to come around, I need to come around, I'm trying so hard to come around, I'm trying so hard to come around. I'm trying so hard to come around. So what ends up happening is you end up coming fine, you start coarse, come fine, and come coarse again, and you have no choice but to do that because of the way you started your fullering. Let's say, for instance, we start fine. Let's say we start fine. And I know this is pretty drastic, but if you look at any shoe, you can start to see that. So if I start fine, I'm coming around, and I'm like, oh man, I need to come out, I need to come out, I need to come out. So you end up creating a straight line, and then you're like, I need to come back in, but you can't because there's a corner. So what that ends up looking like is cutting across the corner, where you're fine, coarse, fine. Does that make sense to everybody? Does that make sense about fitting? Hopefully it makes $1 and go make it.